Panzer Dragoon Remake, released March of 2020, retailing for $24.99 and available on all modern platforms. As you might guess from the name, this is a remake of the original Panzer Dragoon released for the Sega Saturn back in 1995. And while the graphics have been updated, the gameplay is faithful to the original, as you get a cutscene where you see a man on a dragon die. And apparently you felt it was alright to pick up his laser gun and hop on his dragon, at which point the game starts. It is a rail shooter, meaning the dragon will keep going forward. You can control where the dragon is at on the screen, and of course you can aim your laser gun, which has two modes of fire. You can either fire freely at whatever you see, or you can lock on to multiple targets at once. And taking out enemies is best done with the lock-on, whereas defending yourself from enemy projectiles can only be done by freely firing your gun. This also has a feature unique among rail shooters, in that you are being attacked on multiple fronts. The radar in the corner will tell you where enemies are at. You will have to fire in front of you, to the right, the left, and behind you. And on higher difficulties, this will become overwhelming. Your health is not fully refilled between levels. It does, however, get partially refilled, and depending how you do in a level, will determine if you get any extra lives at the end of the level, here called credits, which is fitting as this does seem like an arcade experience, with a complete run of this game, watching all cutscenes, taking less than an hour and a half. But this is not a game that's really about getting to the ending. At the end of each stage, you're given a percentage as to how many enemies you killed in the stage. So with practice, you could raise your percentage, and eventually do each stage perfectly, possibly even without taking any damage. And of course, there is coming back to each stage on higher and higher difficulties, as on the easiest setting, this game is really a breeze. But the jump in difficulty even to the next easiest setting is a fairly large jump. Is Panzer Dragoon Remake worth your time and money? Well, as I stated, it is a very short game to just play through once. But this is not the kind of game that you're meant to play through once and be done with it. It's meant to be replayed so you can slowly become better at the game. And it's also worth noting this is a remake of a Sega Saturn game. And hunting down an actual Sega Saturn and all of the bits and bobs to play it, along with a copy of the original game, is a hard and expensive proposition these days. And that doesn't even include the problems of hooking up a system that old to a modern TV. So, having said all of that, I do think the $25 price tag is reasonable if you're interested in playing this Sega Saturn classic. The gameplay is very faithful to the original. The graphics have been updated and are quite a bit different from the original game. But that is to be expected, as the Sega Saturn's graphical abilities were somewhat unique, to say the least. So yes, I do recommend Panzer Dragoon Remake, on whatever platform you have access to. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.